Hey everybody, JC here with another TNI toy review, and today we're going to take a look at another of Mattel's new 4-inch DC Comics Multiverse figures. The one we're looking at today is the Batman Arkham City Azrael figure. And like with all the figures in this first wave, this figure comes packaged in standard card back with yellow and orange and red highlights. Up at the top we have the adult collector sign and highly detailed and authentic. Then under that we have the Batman Arkham City logo as well as the DC Comics Multiverse logo on the red border. And then on the left side we have a picture of Azrael from the Arkham City video game. The mysterious Watcher. And then the figure is clearly displayed on the card back so that you can see exactly what you're getting. You also get a look at his accessories. The accessories on this figure seem to be on the actual figure itself. Now this, other than the Batman figure that we looked at earlier, is the only figure in this line that comes with any kind of accessory. I think Mr. Freeze does as well, but I don't have that one yet, so I can't say for sure. And then underneath that we have DC Comics Azrael. On the back, again we have art of the character from the video game, and then his name, and then some stats or brief bio for the character. Real name Michael Lane, affiliation the Order of St. Dumas, weapon of choice flaming blade. And then we have a brief bio about the Multiverse line along with the Batman Arkham City logo. And then we see other figures in this wave. Bane, Batman, and Mr. Freeze. Now, I'm not sure what's up with Mr. Freeze. I don't know. I don't think he's actually shipping with these initial assortments of these figures. My comic book shop where I picked these up at didn't have Mr. Freeze. And then I noticed on Big Bad Toy Store, who now lists these as in stock, is also still not showing the Mr. Freeze figure in stock. It's still listed as pre-order. It says it's supposed to come in this month. So it's a little strange, why Freeze isn't showing up initially with the other figures, but I don't think Freeze has been released yet. I could be wrong about that. Maybe he's just selling out really quick or something. I don't know, but from what I can tell, Mr. Freeze has not actually been released yet. Okay, so let's get this figure open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging. Now overall, I have to say this figure seems to be the most detailed and most intricate of the figures in this line. He's got a sword accessory, so other than Batman, who had the little electrical or electricity rubber things that fit on his wrists, this is the only figure that comes with any kind of accessory. He's got some nice detailing. You can see like a rip on his shirt. He's got some chainmail sculpted on in the black parts on his upper chest area. He's got these soft rubber pieces for his armor on his arm, which are not removable but do have some mobility to them, and again they're soft rubber. He's got the soft rubber cape pieces on his back. Again, the cape's not removable, but it's individual pieces, which is kind of nice. Now, he's also got this blade attached to his arm, which is not removable. Initially, I thought this was a removable blade, but it's not. Now, I want to point out that the weapons are made with a very soft rubber, so this blade, comes kind of deformed out of the packaging, and it's very soft. So it looks a little funny. You could probably straighten it out if you wanted to with a blow dryer or something, but very soft and comes out of the packaging. This one was the best looking out of the ones I saw at the store. The others were even more bent looking. So and something to look out for when you're buying it. The sword as well, he comes with a sword that just kind of fits in this clip on his belt, which you can pull out the sheath and the sword. But the sword, again, is a very soft rubber material, so a lot of bending. The sword, it comes in the sheath, so it's not too warped or anything, but it is very soft. And even the sheath itself is a pretty bendable, soft, rubbery type, made of a soft rubbery type material. And again, the sword will fit in the sheath, though you kind of got to be careful not to bend the blade when you're pushing it in. And then the sheath will just fit on this little square thing that sticks out on his belt. And he's also got these little soft rubber pieces that kind of stick out off of his gauntlet on the one arm. So overall, pretty nice detailing. The soft rubber on the accessories is kind of a little bit of a drawback since they bend very easily. But other than that, I can't complain too much about the overall look of this figure. I think there's nice detailing on the sculpt, nice attention to detail with, like I said, the chain armor on the black parts. He does not have treads on his boots like we saw with Deadshot and Bane. He does have 2 peg holes. Scale-wise, this figure stands about the same height as Batman and Deadshot. He's just about the 4-inch mark. So here he is again, standing next to the Batman figure. This is the armored figure of Batman. You can see they're about the same height. And here he is with the Deadshot figure in this series. Again, about the same height. And then here he is with Bane, who is the tallest figure in this line, at least out of the 4 that I have. Again, I don't know how tall Mr. Freeze will be, but Bane is definitely the tallest. And so I think the scale works pretty well with this line. He is next to the Marvel Universe Black Knight figure. He's a little bit shorter. Like I said in my Deadshot review, I think these figures stand just a hair shorter than the Marvel Universe figures. So they're not exact scale, but I think they're close enough that, if you wanted to mix your DC and Marvel figures together, these lines will mesh together as far as scale goes. Now, Azrael, basically, he only has one hand that's sculpted open, so he can only hold his sword in his right hand, but he does hold the sword pretty firmly, so you can get some good sword dueling scenes with the figure if you wanted to. Okay, so for articulation on this figure, it's basically the same basic points of articulation that we've seen with all the other figures in this line. This is definitely the weakest part of this figure and this entire line is the articulation. But let's just go over the points of articulation on this one real quick. For the head, you can look left and right. It's a little tight, but you can get him to look left and right. No, like with all the figures, no up and down movement with the head though. Standard ball hinge joints on the shoulders, so he has good rotation there. And even with the shoulder pads, which again are attached with soft rubber material, so it doesn't really hinder the movement of the arm at all. So that's good. He's got the shoulder single hinged or elbow, so he can bend his elbow about that much. And again, the blade doesn't, on the one arm, doesn't really hinder his bending at all. He's got the midsection swivel, but no torso joint at all. The belt, it looks kind of funny though, because the belt is he's got this, the strap that comes over his chest that's supposed to, kind of attach to his belt, but because it's a separate piece from the actual belt, if you swivel, it moves, so it can kind of look a little funny. But not too bad. And then he can do the splits. He's got the hinge joint to do the splits, so no issue there. And even with the sword, it really doesn't actually hinder if you want him to pull his leg outward. The sword does bend essentially because it's such a soft rubber material, and of course you can take the sword off if you don't want to have that. And then he can move his leg forward pretty well, but with the way the butt is sculpted and everything, you can't really get any back movement. In fact, you want to be careful, because if you try to force it back, you could actually snap the leg off. And then, like with all the figures, there's no ankle articulation at all, so no pivot or anything. So that about does it for my review. Overall, I think, this is a pretty good figure. Like I said, probably the most detailed figure in the first wave. I like the attention to detail with things like the rip in the shirt and the chainmail sculpted on the upper chest section. The armor pieces look good on his arms, and even the cape and everything on his back. So I think the figure looks good. Again, like with all the figures in this line, I would like to see some additional points of articulation, especially, again, since this line is billed for adult collectors. I think it would be nice if we had things like an ab crunch and ankle joints and the ability for the head to look up and down. Other than the articulation, though, I think this is a pretty good figure, and overall I think this line is somewhat solid. The upside is that the figures don't cost a lot of money. I think they're going to cost around the neighborhood of $7 or $8 at mass retail. And so, I think that's definitely a plus for this line. I think scale-wise it fits in pretty well with your other 4-inch lines. So no real complaints there. Accessories, this one does come with the sword and sheath. The soft rubber material, on the accessories I don't really like, because they bend way too much, and things like the blades on his arm get kind of bent out of shape really easily. But other than that, I like the accessories, and like that this figure does at least come with accessories, unlike most of the other figures in this first wave. So that's my review. These are starting to hit comic and specialty shops now, and should start hitting mass retail. You may even find them at places like Target now, if you're lucky. And so until next time, I'll check you later.